Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that Surewinder is still selling amazing products. Some of you guys have been dragging your feet for whatever reason. If your shoulder hurts, do not waste time. Pull the trigger. I just bought 4 or 5 of them, and we had 2 guys out. You know how much it cost me to pay for 2 guys being out with bad shoulders? We just pulled the trigger and we said, listen, everybody's going to have one on a truck. It's mandatory. You got to use it. Don't hesitate. Don't wait till your guys go down. It's going to cost you more. Buy a Surewinder.
What's up, guys? Ryan here, Torsion Talk podcast. And being that it's the middle of November, hopefully you've already started planning your 2025. However, you might still be involved in it. And if you haven't done this before, it's probably the single biggest return on investment of any action that I take on an annual basis. I don't know how to run my business without doing some sort of annual plan, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, whatever. So I'm going to walk you through a couple things that I think are really important that will help you structure your planning, especially if you've never done this before. So we'll call this like a blueprint for strategic planning for 2025. The very first thing I do is I go through every single month and I evaluate and look for trends. So, for example, any outliers. Let's say that we have 2 or 3 months where we exceed goal or we're really high in revenue. I want to take a look and I want to identify what exactly happened. A couple things will come to mind. Maybe the month prior was a really bad month, right? This happens. This is why I like to measure sales on a quarterly basis. Maybe it was a marketing thing, whatever. You never know, right? But I want to try to find trends. I want to dig into the data and I want the data to tell me a story. And so I want a story for all the months that we were really high and all the months we were really low. A lot of times what you'll see is you'll have a really low month and then a really big month, or you'll have a really big month and then a really low month, especially early in the business when you are getting your footing and you don't have the consistency in the sales numbers. And so a lot of times those numbers will reflect that way, where high and low, because it doesn't really matter if the sale or the sales landed in a single given month. Now, yes, it's it's nice if it works out that way and every month is gradual uptick, but realistically, that's not going to happen. And some of the things that I think you need to take into consideration is like, hey, do you have some big producers who are going on vacation? Do you have months where you're closed more often? If you have to do $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 a day in order to increase your revenue, well, if you have a high performer or multiple high performers take off in a given month, or if you have a holiday like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and you got a few days off the weekends, that could really put a huge damper in the growth of the business. So all these things, if somebody quits and goes somewhere else and it takes you a little while to replace that performer, that contributes to revenue, that can play a role as well. So anyway, I go through and I try to find out, hey, what's the reasons for my high highs and my low lows? Did I have consistent growth throughout the year? And I really evaluate. I take a look at that year over year from previous years, as well as if I have a bad July, I want to look at the previous July and the one after that, see if we can kind of figure out what's going on. I'll also take a look at hey, what marketing changes did we make this year? How have those affected the sales numbers? Things like that. So we dig into our wins, we dig into our losses, and then I want to reflect on the lessons that we learned, the things that we did, the people we hired that didn't work out, the people we hired that did work out, the new positions we opened up, maybe the new marketing strategy we did that did work or didn't work. I want to reflect on all of the things that we did and can learn from them. And then I want to do a little bit of like reverse engineering. So if I go in and I look at each revenue driver and I take an evaluation of their average per month, what they've contributed to the company. And then I try to figure out like, are they at capacity where they can't really drive more than what they're driving now? Is there a liability there? Like, is this person not bought in or potentially leaving soon? And what do I think I can do? Like, are there additional staff members that I need to hire to fill gaps? Am I losing business because we can't get to them fast enough? I mean, realistically, in the garage door industry, let's just be honest, it's really about speed to lead on sales. And then on service, it's like, how quick can you get to my home to fix my door? At least that's how it is majority of the country. I know some of you guys have it really good in the rural areas where people will wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever to get their door fixed. That's just not the case when you are in a metropolitan area a lot of times. So if you are listening to this and you've accomplished being able to do that, I'd love to hear about it. So I want to set goals, and I have to set my financial goals in a way that one is not, it's aggressive, not demoralizing. There needs to be a clear path of how we get there. The revenue generators either need to increase their sales through the year, or I need to hire people to help me generate those sales. So if I have, let's say I have 2 door salespeople and 2 service professionals, okay? The door salespeople are out selling. I'm going to generate some leads for them, but they need to generate some of their own as well, doing networking events, whatever. Now, the service people, like I try to get my service people to do about $45,000 a month. However, I got a guy who can consistently do 60 or 70. And I've got another guy who's newer, who's doing around 30. But ultimately, what I'd like to do is I like to have each truck doing about $45,000 on average per month. So if I'm trying to increase my revenue by, let's say, $500,000, I've got to ask myself, where is this coming from? How are we going to get the 500,000? Some people will say you increase marketing. I don't agree with that 100%. I first want to look at what my team is capable of doing. Can we do this with our current team? Where would it come from? What would need to change in order for us to make that happen? So all these things need to be taken into consideration. Once we've identified like the goal, like what we're trying to accomplish in growth and what it's going to take for us to get there, then I do a little bit of an evaluation. Is it worth it financially on a net basis, either short term or long term, to make this investment to get an extra $500,000? And that's something that you're just going to have to deep dive in, right? So if you got to buy a truck, you got to stock it up, all this stuff. If you can accomplish all that stuff and you're losing jobs now, it could be costing you $100,000 a year in lost revenue, that because you can't get to the jobs because you don't have enough people for service. So if you add that truck, there's an initial big investment up front, which I would strongly suggest all of you guys figure out what it costs you out of pocket to get the truck, get it fitted for exactly what you need. That way you have a cost of what it takes to invest in bringing someone new on. loading it up with tools, all that stuff, getting it wrapped, getting everything ready. So now that we've identified that, hey, if I hire someone and I'm trying to do $500,000 additional in sales, and a service professional can do 45,000 in service, naturally I can hire one service person, put them in a truck, and ultimately, as long as I can make the phone ring and get enough jobs, he should be able to do that and get that 45,000 a month, which would exceed my growth goal of 500,000. So, long story short, we accomplished it. And that's just a simple format of how I do it. But I also always want to evaluate my net. I want to see how long it takes for me to break even in that truck, for my initial investment, all of that. So I'll take those goals and I'll kind of spread them out. And I know a lot of people will do like goals where they stair step through the year. I'm not like that. I take my goals and I spread them out through the year based on historical data. So, like, for instance, July is historically not a great month for us for new doors. So I always drop it down for new doors for 6 weeks. It's going to be the first, or it's going to be all of July, the first 2 weeks of August.
Hey guys, I found something that changed my business and I want to share it with you. We've created packages that have included some of the best products in our industry to offer our service customers. The heart of that package is Stealth Hardware Kit. Stealth Hardware is the quietest hinges on the market. I challenge you to buy at least one of these, test it for yourself. Put it on your truck and design a quiet performance package for your customers willing to pay for a better, smoother running door. Buy your Stealth Hardware Kit at Service Spring, do a search for quiet hinge, and then buy that. You can buy a double or single door, 7 or 8 foot tall, and promise you, it'll change your service forever.
Somer USA and Somer Group want to thank you for an incredible year and the trust you put in them and their products. As you know, Somer places high value on relationships, education, customer service, innovation, and professionalism. And they are grateful to you for your part in the fostering and dissemination of these values. If there is any way Somer can support you in your journey, whether through their products, the values they hold to, or the knowledge Somer has gained through interaction with door dealers across the world, please reach out to the team at your convenience. They are here to serve you. Again, thank you from the entire Somer team. Check them out at somerusa.com. Tell them Ryan sent you.
So now we've kind of set our goals. We've broken them out by month, by quarter. We've taken a look at all that. Now we need to know, hey, if we want a guy to come in and do service and do $500,000 for the year, we got to get this truck now. Like, we got to be moving. We got a month and a half to get a truck ready, find someone to put in it, train them, and get them out there. And so that process has got to start ahead of time, because we're evaluating 45,000 on a 12-month plan, which in reality, if we're looking at this, if they work 10.5 months, we probably accomplish our goal. So we got a little bit of time, but not really. We got to be on it. So once we set that goal, we know that we've got to have that. Now, maybe we want to be at $1 million more. Well, maybe we hire that service guy and then we look at another door sales guy, right? So if each door sales person is selling $1 million, you hire a guy in the spring during busy season, he's probably not going to have a pipeline coming in. So he's going to have to build it with the spring, sell it through the summer, and then he's going to have to mess with the slowdown season here in Georgia a little bit. Fall comes in, it kicks up. We do a little bit more, and then winter comes and it slows down again. So knowing that trend and knowing when to bring someone in and also be able to accomplish hitting your numbers is pretty stinking important. So making sure that you budget and figure out how you're going to handle the strategic hires that's going to help you get those numbers is really important. Another thing that I think is really important is you need to figure out your pricing models. So I think every year it's a good idea to reevaluate your pricing, like how you're pricing your products. Listen, every year there should be an increase in your pricing, without a shadow of a doubt. You are going to pay more in rent, property taxes, whatever it is. Everything's going up. So you need to evaluate that. Your employees are probably going to want more money, which means more taxes, more insurance, more health insurance, general liability, workers' comp, et cetera, et cetera. So you should not be paying for that. That should not be an employer payment. If you are making that an employer payment, then you are not running your business properly. So what we have to do is lay all this out to be able to figure out, hey, how do we cover our overhead and also all of our COGS, our cost of goods sold. You do that with your pricing structure, but a lot of people aren't doing their pricing correctly. We've talked about in the past where we're doing margin versus markup. It's critical that you understand the difference between those two, because if you want to grow your business without it eating you alive, you cannot do markup unless you are using some form of calculation that allows you to understand your margin. For example, I like 50% margin on equipment if I'm selling doors, motors, whatever. Now you can get that with markup if you just multiply it by 2. So if you say, hey, I'm going to multiply my cost times 2, that's labor too. So a lot of people get shocked when I tell them I take the door, I take the labor, everything, and we multiply it by 2. A lot of people will do their cost of the door times 2 and they don't charge extra for labor. But then you're not really doing 50% margin because you got other expenses involved in that. So figure out where you're underpricing, where you can be pricing higher and covering your expenses, making sure you're keeping up with all the added expenses of the business, anything that you signed up for recently. If you're not charging more, if it delivers more value to the customer, then you definitely need to be charging more for it. So you'd be surprised how much like a couple percentage point basis across all of your price book can make a significant difference in the overall benefit of the company. So you can start doing this types of stuff when you have your kind of hourly cost to operate the business, and then kind of break down sales, et cetera. So we talked a little bit about that earlier. One of the things that we really found out previously, a couple years ago, we were losing money on installation for garage doors. And when we pulled up how much the installers cost us for them to run, a truck in a day, it was significantly higher than we anticipated. So we had to increase our prices and we went to a day rate. So no longer do we do like flat rate pricing for doors and motors for installers. We sell a half day or a full day for 1, 2, or 3 guys. So that's how we do that. It's worked really well for us. As long as the salespeople are disciplined and they're doing it right and they're not cutting corners on that, then I think it works really well. That just takes a little bit of accountability. All right. Once you kind of figure out where you need to be and some areas that you can increase your pricing on, you don't have to increase pricing across the board. Even you can do it on certain things. So for example, spring changes, right? Those are your bread and butter. If you go to any home service business, they're usually pricing out repair service at 70% gross profit or higher. That includes your cost of material, your cost of labor, and minus your sales price. You should be at 70%. or greater. Okay. So 70% or greater just to do the job. If you are doing the job, let's say you are an owner and you're doing the job, you should pay yourself competitively so that when people, like when you go to hire someone, it's not sticker shock for you and your business. It might be a little bit of sticker shock for you because you might not be able to pay someone and also pay yourself all that money, but it will be a lot easier if you're not underpricing and you're not paying someone for labor, including yourself. So put yourself on a comp plan that rewards you for doing these jobs. So once you kind of start getting all this stuff figured out and you're doing your plan and your strategy and making sure that you're generating enough calls for all this stuff, you audit your system, you kind of go through, pick it apart, see how you can streamline this and make it a great, successful plan for the year. And how do you get your team bought in on it? Even schedule a way to maybe present it to your team on all the things that you're going to do, the months that you might hire, the people you might hire, and get them involved and bought into that whole process. So once you do that and you got kind of like your kickoff meeting and you've gone through, like what we do is we go through, hey, here's what we did well last year. Here's what we did really bad last year that we need to improve on, some things we learned. And then here's how we're going to apply some of those things to 2025. Then you get everybody excited about that. We'll even pull up like how much we paid in workers' comp, general liability, payroll taxes, dental, vision, health, all the insurance, like all these miscellaneous expenses that nobody really ever sees. We'll pull these up, credit card processing fees. We'll throw them up on the screen and people are baffled every single year. They had no clue how much it takes to run the business. So I think that's really good to show people. Now, what happens when you're doing this plan and it doesn't go as you thought it would? So historically, if it's a well drawn out plan, unless something catastrophic happens like a 9/11 or a COVID, I would say it's really important that you stay the course. Because if you thought the plan through really well, that means that is a well planned, it's a well planned plan, I guess. So abandoning it after you're 50% or 75% through will only hurt you. Now, I'll give you an example. In the beginning of 2020, was it 3? We bit off more than we could chew, but we made a significant investment into Aaron overhead doors. This resulted in a negative net profit for Aaron in 2023. In the tune of a couple $100,000. I know what you're thinking. That's crazy. But what I can tell you is 2024 has turned out to be our most successful year by far. Ryan, what happened? Well, we took it to the chin. We bit off a lot. We implemented a lot. We restructured the staff to scale the company to a higher rate. So we broke apart some positions because we had some people that were doing like 2, 3, 4 positions, but none of them like really well. Like they were good, but we wanted to be able to take it up a level. And we were making investments into a new showroom, which was a big, huge investment, but we also rolled out and became a dealer for Phantom screens. And that was a whole thing that really hurt our door sales in the beginning because we had a massive amount of business coming through. And we also didn't really know what we were doing that well. I mean, it hurt our culture because our door guys were getting frustrated. I mean, like a lot of stuff, right? So 2023 was bad, really, really bad. But because we made such a significant investment, we wanted to give up on some stuff throughout the way, but we knew that we had agreed that this was the plan. And if we do it really well, we will be rewarded. 2024, we're up like 40, 45%, 40%, something like that for the year in revenue. And we are having our best year. 2022 was great for us. We had a great net profit, like everything was good. We're doing better than that. And the cool thing about it is we brought in like maybe one or two more people in the field, but we learned in 2023 that we didn't do a really good job with employee efficiency. And so we fixed that also. So now, like if you work here, you have to be willing to play different roles. So if you're in commercial, you might have to go do screens one day or go to residential project. If you're in residential, you might have to go do screens or commercial. If you're in screens, most likely you're just doing screens a lot because we have so much business for it. But those guys can do garage doors as well. They can help in commercial. They can install garage doors all by themselves. They can go do service if we need them to. So we have this staff that's like so cross-trained and such a good attitude about the whole thing that I feel like that's what's really helped us. Employee efficiency, understanding our numbers, increasing some of our pricing, making massive investments in 2023. And that's what's gotten us where we're at right now. So when plans aren't going as well as they should and the numbers look like crap, don't just walk in and start bashing everybody. It was your plan. You rolled it out. This was your idea. So what you have to do is you have to eat it and you have to decide, is this something that I'm willing to take down the ship for? Or do I truly believe this is going to work? And if it's not working, is it my fault? Have I not done it properly? Is my team not fully bought in? And did we miscalculate the return? And I think for us, it was miscalculating the return. We thought we might get the return in the same year we made the investment, which wasn't true. But now, like, we literally can spend another year not making any more big investments into the company, maybe two, and continue to increase sales by 20, 30% every year and we even pulled back marketing. It's half of what it used to be. And we're still doing 40% greater. So trust yourself if things aren't going as planned. And then it's never a bad idea to get a second opinion and bring in an advisor or a consultant or whatever. If you're not confident in your plan, it's a big risk. Maybe you want to run it by some people that you trust that are bigger than you. Give them the whole plan and let them take a look at it and tell you if they think it's a great idea or not. So anyway, long story short, happy Thanksgiving. It's coming up soon. And I also want to say this little component right here, I strongly advise you, whether you do it on the weekends, the weekdays, nights, whatever, like break this down. This is one of the single most important things you can do in your business is reevaluate everything that you're doing, build a plan, and execute it. So I hope this was helpful for all of you guys out there that don't do this. If you need anything, hit me up. I'm around. I always try to reply on Facebook. It just takes me a little while sometimes. So hope you're doing well. Check us out. Aaron Overhead Doors, Mark Annuity, Garage Door U. Oh, by the way, sign up for virtual door dealer conferences in a few weeks, and I would love to have you. Thanks. Take care.